Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and earlier today we went through a CNBC article that is going to be largely looked over, and we're going to read a little bit more of that as well, because I think it's important that people understand they're telling you that this shot may have such adverse effects as fever, body aches, headaches, muscle pain, right? That you may not come and get the second dose, and you need to get the second dose. That's what the authoritative sources are telling you. And we're going to be extremely calm and extremely careful, just like we were when we did that video today. But we're gonna do a watch along with about 5 minutes of this interview that was posted in the third week of July of this year. This is CBS. This isn't CNBC. This is another authoritative source. And have Bill Gates explain to you what these vaccines really are and what they are not, and what they may prevent and what they will not. Not Jason Bermas, Bill Gates. And then you're going to have them talk about these side effects in the Moderna trials. Now, I think that even before we get here, it is very, very important to understand that from authoritative sources, okay, we now can put aside any Johnny nonsense of someone telling you that we're going to have 300,000 extra deaths this year. That is no longer their position in fact. Okay, this isn't an estimate. These are the numbers we now have, and I'm going to show you the link to where you can see this as well. But as you can see right here, this isn't just telling you COVID deaths with and without pneumonia, pneumonia deaths without COVID, etc. You can see all deaths involving COVID-19 right there. And then next to it, deaths from all causes. This is for the entire year. Okay? And it says 2,563,440. Now, on the average of that, it's probably going to get to 2.8 and change. Okay? 2.8 and change. That's where we're going to be. Now, if you look here, this is 2018, and where are we at? 2.8 and change. Okay, and you have similar numbers. I think that's an increase from 2017, I believe. But yes, there's 2.8 and change. Okay, now we're using Google, the people that run this video platform here. Okay, we're using that to show you other authoritative sources, and I'm going to calmly talk to you because it's right in your face. No longer can people try to tell you that so many more people died overall this year. That is false. Okay? That is in fact not true. Now, I would like to see month by month now and go through totals in each month to see if in fact we had a huge spike in deaths when the vast majority of deaths via COVID-19 happened in March, April, and May. Okay? Because we've seen a very large drop in the mortality rate. Now, we're going to reread some more of this authoritative stuff here. Okay? We read the whole thing. We won't be supporting you, CNBC. Sorry. Okay, with the headline, doctors say CDC should warn people the side effects from COVID vaccine shots won't be, quote unquote, a walk in the park. I didn't write this one. This is not an op-ed. Okay? They quote directly the people warning the CDC who have been hired to do so. All right? I'm going to stop it right there for a moment. Obviously, if you just watched my video, we were supposed to do this an hour ago. I don't know what's going on. It seemed there was some kind of a software issue. I don't know, guys. All I know is that I'm on the Grueling Truth with my podcast network, right? With Mixed Martial Mindset. We put it on the audio thing. They got demonetized. He reapplied for remonetization, and he got a response within an hour. We've been demonetized for 7+ months. We've gotten no response whatsoever. They've told me nothing about what channels or topics I'm not supposed to talk about, what are the spicy videos, what aren't the spicy videos. The only video I've ever had taken off ever for inappropriate content was yesterday, and I would assume it's because of the Murphy footage, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, they didn't tell me anything on that. I'm not even going to appeal it. You can find it on Rockfin for free, okay? That's where you can find that. So if you want to support real media, if you want to support truth, I don't know how much longer I'm on YouTube. But we're going to try. We're going to try to get to 60,000 and 75,000, 100,000 subscribers. We haven't done anything wrong. I'm going to show you mainstream media, and we're going to make commentary on it like we're not drooling, invalidic, unable to think for ourselves drones. Okay, and I'm not talking about the drones in the sky. I'm talking about like hive mind like drones to serve a queen. I don't serve a queen. I wasn't taught to serve a queen or royalty when I was a child. I was taught something different. I was taught that we went against the oppression of rule by bloodline. Okay, so thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We do it live and free, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, exclusively at Rockfin. So after this broadcast, maybe we're finally going to break 8,000 followers. Go make a free account, tune in. We're there. We're live. A lot of the stuff stays up there as exclusives. You can also support me by becoming a premium member, and then you get everybody's content. So you're supporting everybody when you watch their premium content as well. Steve from So Slow News Day, right? Jimmy Dore's on there, Askren, Fitch, so many others, okay? And the Ray just hit an all-time high at $1.24 today. All-time high. When I got in this, I believe it started at about 30-something cents. Before the pandemic, hit 70-something cents. Went all the way into the low 20s when I had to cash a lot out, actually, because, hey, I was on the road. I had to get out of New York. We're going to go over New York in here. There's a reason I left New York. Big reason. They got checkpoints now setting up. Finally, the checkpoints are here that I was worried about and extremely nervous about all the way back in March and April. They're here now. They've done it. Okay? It happened. It took longer than I thought it was going to take. I'm a little more collected about it now because, obviously I'm in Iowa. But, guys, now's the time to wake up and become the great resistance. Start with you in the mirror. So, check it out over at Rockfin. We'll be there tomorrow morning. We're on notifications. Let's remind everybody, I'm a documentary filmmaker, Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find and Shade the Motion Picture. I was going back and forth with a buddy of mine. And finally, I was like, look, man, I can't sit here and text you this whole philosophy of how I feel, and you're putting me in this weird, I hate liberals, or I'm a conservative, or all. I'm none of those things. I go to my posts on social media. How many times have I talked about, some liberal conspiracy or anything of the like? He goes, well, I haven't really paid attention much. I could tell you, 0. So I go, you go check out Shade, especially with all the stuff about Gates in it, and then you come back to me, and then we can have a conversation, because that's going to be a good base of information for you. So, if you don't know Jason Bermas, if you don't know where he's coming from, Shade the Motion Picture is a great way to make that happen, and check it out. It's one of my, I'd say production-wise, that's my best film. I love all my movies, but like production-wise, and no script, and it just kind of flows. I love that movie. It's a little more fast-paced than some of the other documentaries out there. But Invisible Empire is my magnum opus of, you can't deny that these globalists with a vision of global governance and a one world order exist and have existed for a long time and have had separate visions of it. Okay? So thumbs it up, subscribe, and share while we're here. I want to just go over some of the basics here. So we have a base before we go to Mr. Gates. Okay? Let's just go here. Here it is. We really need to make patients aware that this is not going to be a walk in the park, Freihofer said. okay, during a virtual meeting with the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And Sandra Feihofer is an American Medical Association of the AMA, said that both Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines require 2 doses at varying intervals, okay? And she worries whether her patients will come back for a second dose because of the potentially unpleasant side effects they may experience after the first shot. All right? And we're going to go through all this in a minute. It's so important that this has not changed since July, and that's why you need to pay attention to Whitney Webb and what she's written about Operation Warp Speed and the differences in these vaccines. Okay? They are going to know they had the vaccine. They probably are not going to feel wonderful, but they've got to come back for this second dose. Okay? Participants in the Moderna and Pfizer's corona vaccine trials told CNBC in September that they were experiencing high fever, not low fever, body aches, bad headaches, day-long exhaustion, and other symptoms of after receiving the shots. Now, let me tell you this. Why would I take this when I have more of a chance to get sick? When anytime, and again, there's big time problems with the testing. Anytime you've tested in the United States, and if anybody would like to show me data otherwise, proving this wrong, again, we're going with the authoritative sources here. Anytime they've tested people randomly, it's a 90+% of asymptomatic, if not almost all of them. Look, the results out of 397 people tested. These are homeless in Boston. This is early on. 36%, that's 146% came up positive. But even more surprising, they weren't showing any signs of the sickness. Now remember, I lived through this in Oneonta. All right? Remember, they had all these cases. There was no hospitalizations. At the end of the day, they got to over 1,000 cases. Okay? There were not 100 people with symptoms in my town at all. Okay? Let me make the point again. In the prisons, okay, 96% of nearly 3,300 inmates randomly tested asymptomatic. My point is this. You cannot stop the spread of a disease that when 90+% of people have it, they're completely asymptomatic. Now, 90+% of the people that took the vaccine did experience side effects when they're experiencing no effects of coming up positive. Now, I know we need to take into account, for instance, Elon Musk 2 and 2. I know that's been popularized. Left nostril positive, right nostril negative. The reports about the PCR tests, I get it. But what they're trying to sell you on is very, very dangerous. Okay, it's dangerous. And while they're doing this, again, before we get to the video, all right, they're pushing what? Oh, there's surges in hospitals. You know, they're coming.
Dr. Adult.
Come on, stop it. They're coming to get you. May have severe coronavirus cases. And by the way, that wasn't what I had up. I had that's weird that it did it unless it clicked on it. See, that's so weird. New York City COVID checkpoints. See that? I had the Bloomberg article up there. Why did it go to that? Huh.
All those
goes to the, that's really bizarre to me. I had a different article queued up to show you that New York City is putting in COVID checkpoints at key bridges and crossings. And instead, the propaganda article comes up that we're all going to die. Well, that's an authoritative source too, Jason. Let me say it again. Here it is. We're going to put it here. Okay? Right in the live chat, everybody. There you go. That's the CDC's website. There you can show everybody the fact that we don't have 300,000 more deaths overall in this country. In fact, we're going to fall short of the 2018 margin. We're right about the average overall. Okay? And yet these restrictions are coming. If they're not already here, well, Cuomo gets a raise. Just gets a little more cash, a little more scratch-tacular for the Cuomo. No big deal, right? I mean, that's the way it should be while people are put into poverty. while people in Philadelphia are told, no, you can't have a Thanksgiving. We're going to play that in a bit. I want to get back to the vaccine. Thumbs this video up, 500 plus watching. Can we get 300 thumbs? Can you share this information with your friends and family? It's about as authoritative as it gets. So here it is. Old Smiley. He's so happy this has happened. Old Smiles. You know what, Bill? Good for you. Just smiling through it all. Old Smiles.
Seen a lot of promising news this week on the vaccine front. What do you make of the results from AstraZeneca and Moderna?
Well, it's very hard to characterize complex scientific things in a sort of simple to understand format.
You're an idiot. I'm the smartest guy alive. Watch me smile and laugh at you as I explain how this is going to go. And let me just give you an overview of how he's going to talk down to you, okay, and tell you how it's going to be. First of all, he's going to smile and laugh away and say, we don't know whether these are going to actually increase, decrease mortality or fatality rates. He's going to tell you that. So then why am I taking this? He's going to tell you all they're going to do is produce antibodies. He's going to tell you there's going to be generations of these vaccines. He's going to admit that in 80% of the cases, they had the side effects that you just read about in that article from this week that nobody's talking about at CNBC. That's how he's going to talk down to you.
We don't know if these vaccines will work. We don't know if they'll work to avoid deaths. We don't know if they'll work to avoid transmission.
We don't know if these vaccines will work. We don't know if they're going to work to avoid deaths. And we don't know if they're going to work to avoid transmissions. Let me explain it to you because it's so hard to understand.
That's why we're working on so many first-generation vaccines and a whole bunch of second-generation vaccines that, although they'll take more time, they are more likely to be extremely effective. It's great that you...
See, outwardly setting up the first generation for failure when they don't work to bring in the mandatory second ones. And remember, the New York State Bar Association has said they will be mandatory in New York and has recommended they be mandatory for the entire country. Okay?
The U.S. government has been willing to fund vaccine manufacturers. Our foundation is partnered with them on that. That's something in my regular phone calls with Dr. Fauci, we update each other on. Okay, how are we working with various companies? Which ones do we think we need to add to the mix there? What is the scalability going to be so that not just the U.S., but the entire world gets the vaccine?
So, again, he's talked about this being a global vaccine. He's all in of 7 billion people, 14 billion doses. He's all in on that. I just want to explain that to you. I don't think we need to rewind it to where he said we don't know if they're going to work. We don't know if they're going to work to lower mortality rates. But the WHO, it's been months, and the mortality rates may be even lower as they have dropped, right, between infection rates. But they've already told you 99.4% of people survive this. So if we don't know if we're going to get a 0.6% edge, we have 90+% of the people asymptomatic when they do get it. What's going on here? Especially if you're only producing antibodies, which he's going to say. Are you going to test the people before they take the vaccine to see if they already have the antibodies you're trying to give them?
So yes, I am very hopeful in innovations in both therapeutics and vaccines. The advanced therapeutics will come first, but in 2021, probably in the first half, we're going to get some good vaccine tools, and that'll be
Look how we're going to get some good vaccine tools. You notice how he talks about the therapeutics in passing, right? He understands that more and more people are going to understand what's up here, and they're going to use non-authoritative treatments to lower the mortality rate, whether they're approved or not. He understands that the media is going to focus on remdesivir and dextromethasone, and then after Trump, they focused on what? Regeneron. Things that are going to cost a lot of money, right? Well, the rich people won't really need to get vaccinated. If they get it, they can spend, $20,000 on the treatment. They're going to be fine. But don't worry. The vaccines will be starting in 2021. In this video, he actually advocates for lockdowns through 2021, saying things, there is no new normal to this guy. Look how happy he is.
Big milestone.
So next week marks a huge milestone. We have Operation Warp Speed is going to begin phase 3 for 4 of these vaccines. Right here in the U.S., they're trying to do 30,000 for each of those 4 vaccines, about 120,000 people totally. When will we know? How do we know if these vaccines are working?
Now, again, he already told you you're not going to know. All right? And you saw the smirks and the smiles. And now here he's going to get a little more hardcore on you, okay? He's going to let you know that, hey, these are going to have to happen. Warp speed, he actually used the word safe, okay? And kind of glosses over it and passes over it. He says warp speed doesn't even really describe this because we're not looking long term. I mean, he basically tells you that you should be wary of the safety of these vaccinations before she asks about the side effects. And he does so again in a gleeful manner.
Well, there's 3 things you'd like from a vaccine.
Now again, there's 3 things you'd like. You notice that he doesn't start answering the question. He doesn't start by answering the question. He starts by telling you what he would like and how this isn't going to be that.
Like it to be very safe in all the populations that you indicated for, no side effects.
No side effects, he said. You notice how that's in passing? You'd like it to have no side effects. Well, we just read a CNBC article that, of course, that's not going to be the case. That it's quite the opposite, actually.
You'd like it to block transmission, and you'd like it to avoid the individual who gets the vaccine getting sick.
So, block transmission. What did he say in the beginning of this clip? We don't know if it will stop transmission. He literally said that to you. This is what you'd like. They're failing on everything he just said. So why does he say that? Because he wants to put it into your head that it's going to be all those things.
The phase 3 endpoint is slightly different than those things so that we can accumulate events quickly. So we aren't...
Slightly different. Let me explain how, when someone says slightly different, what that means. That means it's PR. Okay? When we read this, we actually read a spot where when they were talking about those side effects, okay, they wanted to use different terminology and words. Okay? And words. They're like, well, you know what? We're going to call it, what is it? They had an adverse, let's hit it, Control F. Was it adverse? Let's see, reaction? There it is, yes, adverse reaction. Why didn't that come up the first time? So understand what he's doing is exactly what they're going to do here. Patsy Stinchfield, a children's Minnesota nurse practitioner, said officials and drug makers could try talking about the side effects. Remember the ones we just talked about, high fevers, body aches, lethargy. I mean, everything bad you don't want, right? Okay? The side effects in a more positive way. She said they could use language such as response instead of adverse reaction. Okay? That's what Bill Gates is doing here. He's saying it's slightly different. No, it's not slightly different. It's exactly what you're telling us if you pay attention to your words and not your smiles and sweater.
Doing it like a long-term vaccine thing. And even calling it warp speed is scary because it suggests that you're willing to make trade-offs against safety, which you should never be willing to do.
Correct, you shouldn't, but you are doing it. He actually tells you it's scary. But he used that slightly terminology and he eased you into it.
The FDA is being pressured to allow what's called just a correlate approval. Fortunately, they've held the line on that to this point because we wouldn't know enough just based on the antibody levels. And
notice he just talked about the antibody levels. That's all these are designed to do is put antibodies into you. Make your and by the way, you know what? Now's a good time to just do this. Okay? We'll come back to Mr. Gates. This guy was taken off of YouTube. He's taken off of Twitter apparently. It's over on Blazing Press, okay? He is a former Pfizer vice president, okay? And you could read that headline yourself. What he talks about is not only the immunity gained through these antibodies, right? But he also talks about the immunity of T cells. And I would encourage everybody to go check that out. We could not play that here, okay? But look at Mr. Gates tell you now about these antibody levels and what this Operation Warp Speed actually means. We haven't even gotten to the side effects. Don't worry, it's about to happen.
These trials, the bad news, of course, when we have many cases is good news for the trials in that they may accumulate events faster than they would have otherwise. But there'll be a lot of uncertainty about how good these vaccines are. The first generation, they said a 50% effectiveness.
Now, again, the first generation, he's saying in July, is a 50% effectiveness. What are you hearing in the media now? 90+% effective. I'm just saying.
And they won't know the duration there. So these are going to be likely partial solutions that will improve over time. And so it's too bad.
Look how it's just too bad. I mean, oh, God love him, huh? What a good guy.
People think that just that phase 3 approval will be the end of the epidemic.
Well, I want to ask you, you mentioned side effects. The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers.
Now, again, that does not seem to have changed. And what is changing is the language. Jason Burmis isn't telling you the language is changing. CNBC is reporting it from actual nurses and officials and people from the American Medical Association. All right, I have to go back. I want to make sure everybody understands that these symptoms can be intense. Okay? While the symptoms were uncomfortable and at times intense, the participants said they often went away after a day, sometimes sooner, and that it was better than getting COVID-19. Is that true? I mean, again, we still have muscle pains, chills, headaches. We had the high fevers up here. Come on, guys. It's time to wake up. Okay? And again, she's telling you the same exact things. And watch how Gates tries to spin it as she then says, you know what, 100% of the people that took the hot second dose had these. Forget about 80% overall.
So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate.
You notice what he didn't say there? Yes. When she asked the question, are these vaccines safe? I'm just saying, I get it. I'm not authoritative. But what Bill Gates did not say there was yes.
And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies,
Again, he mentions the antibodies. I keep trying to explain this to you. If they were being even a little bit honest, why aren't they testing people for antibodies before they're selling you a vaccine? What if you already have them? Why would you be mandated to take it if this is a vaccine they don't know whether it's going to prevent the disease or lower the mortality rate, but just give you antibodies if you already have them? What mental gymnastics are we going to continue to do as a society when he marginalizes all the side effects of this, which are the normal effects for the people that are affected by coronavirus, before we get into the lung issues? Like, what is going on here?
the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do.
government-
But Bill, the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where it's just super painful. But yeah.
Some of that is not dramatic. It's just like it's super painful. So guys, we're going to continue on here. We're going to exit from the Gates madness. But that's a good, again, not much has changed since the end of July. And right now, when this is published yesterday, and people are not paying attention to any of it while we're getting checkpoints for this stuff, right? That's, again, highly treatable, but we're going to have checkpoints. Cuomo's going to get a raise. That's fine. All right. Get ready for compulsory vaccinations. Remember, Denmark said no. Denmark said no. You can say no. I don't need to play this again right now, but what I am going to play, okay, other than, people going into poverty and people outside of Cuomo's house, is I'm going to play this protest right here because it needs to happen.
Restrictions are taking their complaints directly to the Erie County executive. Demonstrators held a protest around Mark Poloncarz' home in North Buffalo today. They say they're sick of the restrictions, accusing the county executive and Governor Cuomo of being tyrants.
He is laughing at you and your inability to make money. He is shutting down your business. He is stealing the food out of your family's mouths.
These people need to stop these closures. They didn't work the first time. They won't work this time.
It's really greatly affecting people emotionally, mentally.
And let's just stop that there, okay? Because, again, if you think this is still about a virus, no, this is about controlling you and telling you can't drink at bars before Thanksgiving in Pennsylvania.
Spread of COVID-19 is suspending alcohol sales at bars and restaurants for one night. That night happens to be Thanksgiving Eve, one of the industry's busiest nights. Eyewitness News reporter
If
Howard
not
Monroe
the
is live
busiest
in
night in
Northern
most
Liberties with
places
more
and
on that
hometowns.
story. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning to you, Jim. Yes, Thanksgiving Eve is one of the busiest nights for bar owners, and that is why the state says they need to close early before they become super spreader celebrations. Now, the bar mandate goes into effect when
Super spreader celebrations, okay? Remember, Governor Newsom can have dinner with people. They don't care. Remember, there are people that are fighting back. Okay, there are people that are saying no. Like these sheriffs in Fulton and Saratoga County. There are nurses that are now joining, I don't want to say the word. Let's say groups they're telling you can't. Despite the fact that when they start testing the asymptomatic, there's no way to stop an asymptomatic virus. You can check out the CDC's own. They don't actually show you. They won't report the totals on asymptomatic in there. You kind of have to figure them out yourself. But guys, again, happened in my town. It was the same thing there. Same thing there. And I'm going to show you again. Just to wrap it up, take a good look. We are on par with being under the 2018 numbers of deaths. Anyone telling you, I'm going to put the link in from the authoritative source of the CDC, that we are going to have 300,000 more deaths this year is a liar. And they don't understand. And unfortunately, they love their masters. They love their narrative. They don't understand they're totally zombified and brainwashed. They think they're doing good things. You have to pity them in many ways. But you also have to be ready to understand that at this point, they are the enemy of humanity. They are the enemy of you and your family and a free people. And we must use an information war of common sense and apparently authoritative facts like these we showed you to bring them back to reality. So guys, thumbs this video up on the way out. Please, almost 800 watching. Can we get 400 thumbs for all that content? We've been demonetized 7+ months. We're not expecting any kind of an actual response. Again, I just found out before this broadcast, the good people at The Grueling Truth went for remonetization, and they got a response in hours. In hours. Okay, 7+ months. They're looking to take the channel down. I need your support now more than ever. $5, $10, $15, big donors, please. Rockfin, Rockfin, Rockfin. We are live at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, exclusively over on Rockfin. Make sure you get out there, you check it out, okay? Make the free account. If you want to support me, you can support me there financially as well by making a premium account. All the documentary films are free. Watch Shade the Motion Picture tonight. You know, if you're up, you're not busy, you got 90 minutes, Shade the Motion Picture, Invisible Empire, New World Order Defined, Fabled Enemies, and Loose Change Final Cut. And let's stick it to YouTube. Let's continue to grow. Again, again, they're using PR. Instead of saying adverse reaction, you should just say response. Well, my response is this. No. 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 I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.